If you grew up in a home that was chaotic, cold, or emotionally unsafe, you already know that something in you is different. Not broken, different. And this video is going to explain exactly why. Because a difficult childhood does not just leave marks, it builds things, specific things. Things that most people around you never developed because they never had to. Here are 5 rare traits that research consistently links to people who survived a hard start. Trait 1. You can read people like a book, not just surface level. You notice when what someone says and what their body does do not match. You catch hesitation, micro shifts in tone, the moment someone's warmth goes slightly cool. This did not come from a gift. It came from necessity. When your environment was unpredictable, your brain learned to scan people for information. The part of your brain that processes faces and social signals got used constantly in high-stakes situations at a young age. The result is a level of social reading that most adults never develop. Trait 2. You can tell when someone is lying, often before you can explain how you know. Your brain spent years learning what genuine emotion looks and sounds like because in your home, you needed that information to stay safe. When something does not match the emotional pattern your brain has cataloged from thousands of past observations, it flags the mismatch. What you experience as a gut feeling is actually a very fast, very practiced pattern recognition process. Trait 3. You have a high threshold for discomfort. Situations that unsettle others, conflict, ambiguity, long silences, emotional intensity, often feel manageable to you. This is because your brain was stress conditioned at an early age. The system that handles difficulty and uncertainty was trained on hard inputs repeatedly. It did not break, it built tolerance. What others experience as overwhelming, your nervous system has already seen versions of before. Trait 4. You function when things fall apart. Under real pressure, the kind that freezes other people, something in you often gets quiet and clear. This is one of the most consistent findings in research on people who grew up in high-stress homes. The brain that survived a hard childhood knows how to operate there. It does not waste energy panicking over the situation. It scans for what can be done. Crisis, to that brain, is a familiar landscape. Trait 5. You rely on yourself in a way most people never learn to. Not because you were closed off, but because you learned early that waiting for rescue was a losing strategy. The part of your brain responsible for problem solving and self-direction was handed real responsibility before most children even knew it existed. The result is a level of internal resourcefulness that is genuinely rare. All 5 of these traits come from the same underlying process. Call it adversity architecture. The way a brain under difficult conditions reorganizes itself to produce capabilities that a brain raised in comfort never has to build. It is not damage. It is not dysfunction. It is the outcome of a nervous system that was pushed hard early and found a way to adapt. The brain that survived a hard childhood is not weaker than others. It is differently wired and, in specific, measurable ways, powerfully wired. You were not damaged by what happened. You were built by it. If this named something you've been carrying without words, subscribe and tell me which of these 5 traits do you recognize most strongly in yourself.